Oh, they are strong.
Last episode, you would have seen us make this super awesome utility cabinet that's going to house the controls for our air suspension and the hydraulic levelling legs on our fifth wheel trailer.
But all that needs power. So in this episode, we're installing a really simple battery setup that's also going to act as a backup off-grid power system for when the tiny house is finished. But I can already see our first issue. This is our new inverter. It takes the power from the 12-volt batteries and converts it into a standard household 240 volts. Last episode, we were using cardboard props to kind of figure out where everything's going to go. And that worked really well, but it didn't really take into account how heavy things were. And after picking this up, I don't really want to try and bolt it to some mounts on the back of the box. We can refigure everything so that this stands up on its butt instead. We just have to make sure we space it all off properly so that there's plenty of airflow. You've got the heavy end, you ready?
Oh. I don't want to get my hand stuck.
That's okay, there's a lip. Yeah.
You seem to have taken it now.
I think I got this. I reckon I'm good. Yeah, not helping. Oh yeah, it's perfect, thank you. Yeah. So this can come right over there, leaving enough space for air ventilation. We've got these just mocked up roughly where they're going to go, and it's much better this way around. We've added these ribs along the back. We only had this box section, but if we used this, it would have meant all of the components would be too far out. So we had to make our own C-channel essentially by just ripping a little bit of this off, just one face, like all the way off.
And then we lasered it in. I say we. Then Pete lasered it in.
Yeah.
Lasered it in, lasered it on. But it means now we have a really strong mounting point. And I've already mocked up where the inverter is going to go. It's going to be sitting on the base of this box to support the weight, but it does have ventilation holes on the underside, so I'm going to have to figure out how we can vent to the outside. Probably just going to cut a hole where the vent holes are in the bottom of the box, and then maybe make some kind of bug screen or something. Yeah.
So to mount the batteries in place, we went back and forth with a bunch of different ideas, like using box section like this and just making some shelves, or like using angle like this and making little trays and welding it all up. But I just wasn't really very happy with it because it all took up too much space.
The batteries need to be really securely mounted. So on each side, they have 8 screw holes. So we had to make sure that we incorporated them into its mount. And then we designed them up, cut them out.
They're going to go in here like this.
That's such a good fit.
It's a great fit.
And there'll be one on the other side as well.
We got these bolt holes and a little handle hole to pick up the battery. And then, I haven't cut it down to size yet, but we'll use a bit of this chunky angle and it'll slot in here like that. And there'll be another one welded on the back, and then that'll be the shelf for the next battery to sit on top of. I really, really like how this came together. It looks way neater and more professional than any of the other options. It just took like hours to do. So next thing to do is to drill out the holes in these ribs, put the riv nuts in so we can bolt the inverter into place. That was meant to go smoother than that. So last episode we tried really hard to prevent any dissimilar metals like aluminium on steel because of the corrosion issues and stuff. But now we're putting a steel riv nut into the aluminium, which I know isn't ideal, but using aluminium riv nuts to hold something so heavy,
they're not strong enough.
The aluminium ones just, yeah, they're not.
And
really
if we
strong,
used that, we'd have to use a steel bolt, and you can't use an aluminium bolt. It would be so soft, it just wouldn't cut it. So we're using some of my favourite PE sealant as a barrier. I think there's going to be a lot of oozement.
I think it's going to be a bit too much.
Let me get a wipe.
Okay. Smells really good. Oh no. Evidence on my nose. Squeeze that in there good.
Yeah, nice little threaded hole. Perfect.
That lines up. We made our own hole there for that one. So this is in the right place, and now we've got to figure out where to put these, because I need to be able to fit my hand in and still be able to pick up the battery from my little hand hole. So I think that's pretty much there. So we're maximizing space as much as possible, but at the end of the day, you still got to be able to get to all the nuts and bolts to be able to take it out again.
The wife making you mow the lawn again?
Yeah.
You like having a good-looking lawn?
Yeah.
But the thrill of using your petrol mower is long gone?
Yeah.
Do you like robots?
Yeah.
Introducing the Limo One Plus, the automatic satellite-guided AI vision-powered robot mowing machine. Hate mowing but love great-looking lawns? Limo One Plus has you covered. Twin blades spinning at a grass-toppling 6,000 RPM cuts a smooth 16-inch wide path. Long on top, short on the sides? You decide with adjustable grass cutting height from 1.2 to 4.0 inches. Tall grass, short grass, summer grass, winter grass, it doesn't matter. If it's grass, it gets cut. Put your feet up while the Limo One Plus gets to work, mowing up to 1 meter per second. You'll be the envy of all the guys and impress the girls. How do you recharge it? You don't. It returns back to base whenever it needs a top-up or once it's finished mowing. Parents, rest assured, with its 5 sensors and pair of AI-powered cameras, it detects and avoids any obstacles. Rocks, roots, potholes, not a problem. Slopes? What slopes? Come rain or shine, the Limo One Plus has got your back. The Limo One Plus, maximum mowing, minimal effort.
What a machine.
What a machine.
So capable.
Yeah, I think what stood out for me the most is how easy it was to set up. I used the app to drive around the perimeter of the garden, and that was it, and it knew where to go. It just did everything.
The crazy thing is that you can use it over 15 acres.
Yeah.
So you can set up in the app 80 different zones for it to go and mow, and it wouldn't have to be one big area. So it could be your front garden, and then it follows the little road and does the back garden.
I know we're concentrating on the robotic side of things because we think that stuff's really cool, but it does work really well as a mower. It has this cyclone technology where it sucks up any grass that's laying flat before it cuts it. So the quality and the consistency of the grass length was really good across the whole garden. And it mulched it really well. You can't really even see the leftover grass that's left on the ground.
So if you fancy putting your feet up this summer and letting a robot take care of your garden for you, then we've got some links in the description for you. From the top, it's been a bit of a saga actually. There's quite a lot going on. We also added these little angled brackets that Pete cut out on the CNC as well, welded them on. They're going to hold some electronic stuff later on. And then a lot of you mentioned in the comments about drainage and ventilation for the box. So I've got 2 big drain holes that I'm at the moment working out a design. I'm 3D printing some little grommets to go through because we're going to put a foam mat in here, and that little grommet's going to pull down the foam mat into a slope. And then over here, we've cut a hole. This is where the inverter goes, because the inverter has pretty much on every side got ventilation holes. So we don't want to enclose it and not give it anywhere for the air to circulate. So I'm also designing a little vent here that's going to have some fans in it. I'll show you later. And then at the bottom, we also need more vent holes. But because there's a ridge on this angle, we're just going to drill holes through instead of making a vent. So I made this. It's a little pattern. That's going to go under. And then I'm going to punch it. Make holes. Core. That's quite loud.
Yeah.
You might also be able to tell that Pete has started scuffing up all of the aluminium, cleaning it off and getting a really rough matte finish, because I'm going to paint it. Before we put the components in, I'm going to paint it real nice. Got some nice primer and some...
Interesting colours.
some very pleasant colour choice.
Haley is in charge of all that.
Don't tell them that, because then they're going to blame me when it looks mental. Whoosh.
Ooh, that looks so good. That's such a good idea, using that.
A template.
It's great.
Not supposed to use any wire brushes on it with the degreaser, so I've just got kitchen scrubbers. It's working. And little nail brushes too.
Ah! Look how clean it is.
So clean. It's the strongest thing we've ever built,
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. It's got like a...
It's got childproof.
Yes,
lid on
it has a Haley-proof lid. Do you know how to do these?
I will not be beaten. We're finally painting. I'm excited.
I can tell.
So this is the primer that we're using. Is by Jotun. It's called Jotomastic 90 Alu, and that stands for aluminium. So it's got aluminium metal infused in the paint, so it's got incredibly good protective qualities.
Yeah, it's a 2-part epoxy paint, but we chose it because it can do all 3 of our metals. It can do the aluminium box, it can do the steel chassis, but it can also do the galvanized neck as well. So it goes on all types.
But don't do it the way that we just did it, by pouring it on. We were trying to save on paint buckets.
Yeah, but all that ended up happening is that our roller dried out too much and didn't spread the paint properly, and then just started to fall apart. So with these foam rollers, you don't want to let them dry out. They need to be fully saturated in paint at all times. And then it goes on real nice, which we found out on the sides.
And here it is. It's been 2 days. It's been very hot in here as well. And it's gone really, it actually feels like it's been...
Plasticized.
Yeah, like it's been wrapped. It feels like a layer of plastic on top.
Yeah, like vinyl.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's looking a little bit patchy. But when I get the paint out again and do the inside, I'll just touch it up. But something I am quite happy with is my... You know, I talked about how we're going to have drainage, and I'm going to make some grommets to hold down the foam mat that's going in here. I've been prototyping, but you can get the gist. This little lip goes up through the aluminium, like that. And then this has got a big chunky thread, and that will go in like that. And then the foam mat, there's like 6mm tool, so it should clamp down on it and pull it real tight.
And it slopes in to this like
And
a
it slopes in. Yes, I'm going to have to change a few things. I don't think the slope is enough. And also I accidentally made the thread the wrong way around.
It's a left-hand thread. I quite like
So
that.
it keeps confusing me every time. I have to turn it left.
It's a creative design choice.
Well, it just means that when we forget about it in years to come, we'll end up over-tightening it and breaking it. And I also did my fan. So I made a little fan vent cover thing that's going to go in that cutout on the side. But it basically works like you have a little louvered vent cover and then 2 computer fans, and then they go in there like that. And also I've got this aluminium mesh screen stuff. It's going to be like a bug mesh, and I'll just cut a piece to fit maybe in there before the glue or something. I haven't quite figured it out. And then it will go in this hole over here.
That looks really neat. So Hayley's gonna paint all the inside and touch up all the bits that I probably missed. But before we do that, we don't want to fit the box in here just to then have to take it out again. So we're gonna take the neck off and paint probably like a small portion of it and also a small portion of the trailer chassis, and then put it back on, and then we'll do the box. And then when the box goes in, it's done, we don't have to take it out again.
kind of hate it.
So, what we were going for, I'm talking about the colours, everything else, awesome. Colour-wise, what we were going for was kind of a vintage teal and orange, but what we ended up getting was like a turquoise, baby blue and traffic cone orange.
I don't have much issue with the blue. I think that it's nice, the
Okay.
blue-green. But I don't like the finish on the orange.
Yeah.
But now at least we can actually start fitting stuff in. We can start getting the power in, the inverter. Pete's made some fun shapes for all his dials and whistles and things, so they're going to be fun to go in. And then if you come and look in here, where we had the little vent holes for the inverter, there's got a little bug mesh, little
Nice.
3D printed ring, and then that will stop the foam from compressing as well, the weight of the inverter. Probably completely unnecessary. That's fine. I think that's neat.
And this is super cool.
Yes. We'll have to figure out where we're going to wire that up to.
Some sort
Maybe
of
some thermal Switch.
Yeah.
And then I've got my little drain holes as well. So I've tightened them up and they've gone like flush with the mat. They're actually located over the top of the jockey wheels. So if we really wanted to, we could get a drill into there and lower the wheels down. Yeah. Okay, let's put stuff in.
This is the inverter. Oh, snug.
Battery number 2. Yeah.
I've been looking at this pile of stuff for about half an hour, trying to figure out where to begin and how to attack it, because we've got AC system, DC system, it all needs to connect and talk to one another. I think maybe the best thing to do is to start by wiring up the big chunky stuff. Okay, so we've got 2 batteries. They need to be wired together in parallel to keep it as a 12-volt system. And then they need to get wired to the inverter, but via an isolator switch and a fuse to keep everything safe. And that would let us turn it all off as well, which seems like a good idea. Oh, they are strong.
That was such a satisfying crunch sound.
It was.
It's been a while since you got to use this crimper.
I know. Crimping, you ready? Is it good?
Yes.
Yeah? One cable down?
How professional.
That looks good.
A lot to go.
Many to go.
That's all the chunky wiring done. So we've got our 2 batteries wired together in parallel. They're just connected at the positive and negative. And then here, we're going to come to a switch. And then it goes through our mega fuse and then into the inverter.
It was awful.
It's not easy working with these big... They don't want to conform to where you're trying to put them, these big wires, but... It's the first little thing to go in your...
My panel.
Yeah, the special panels.
I really like these. Ooh, they're not fully
fixed
in
yet.
It's going to look really cool. There's lots to go in this. This is the fun bit for me. That was awful. But these bits, all the neat control panel is going to be really cool. So we're just going to put this isolator switch in that Hayley was talking about. This will go in there first. And then the back threaded bit. I always forget to do that and then have to redo everything. Our mega fuse isn't fully permanently attached yet because we just weren't quite sure where it was going to go. I've already thought of how I'd prefer to do this differently, but that's good. This is our practice setup before we do the real one indoors in the habitat.
And what would you do differently?
Well, I think instead of having the full-size wires going to the switch panels, I would have all the full-size wires going to a relay board and then having the switch panel controlling relays, and then you've only got to run little wires everywhere, and then all the big wires are in their own kind of like group. I don't know, I'm sure there's a word for it. But so if we turn the isolator switch on, the inverter should come on now, and nothing should go bang. Okay, you ready? Why are you beeping like you're angry?
Oh, he's so mad. There he goes. It's saying it's got 229 volt output and 0 input.
Well, that's not true. No, I think that's how much. I don't know. Oh no, that's the AC input. So this is an inverter and a charger. So you can put 240 volts in from like shore power, and it has a charging unit on board that will charge the batteries.
Oh.
So it's telling us that there's 0 volts going into the battery at AC.
Okay.
But there's currently 229
229
volts going out of these bits, which you shouldn't
I
touch.
see. So that's 230 volts, basically.
And then there is a little battery gauge. I need to look at the manual, but it's doing the thing.
Oh, so I didn't realise that you can plug shore power into that and it will go the other way and charge the batteries.
Yeah, one of these sockets here is going to be for power into the system.
Oh, there we go.
Speaking of charging, this is where things are going to become a little bit unconventional. In the kind of camping and caravan world, most people will be used to using those big blue 16 amp plugs. Sometimes people call them commando plugs. It's fine, but in here it would take up loads of unnecessary room. Also, this system, to charge it, the charger on board here is only about 4 or 5 amps AC. So we don't need a big 16 amp socket. What we're going to use is one of these teeny tiny little, I know them as Speakon connectors. They're used for plugging in like high powered speakers. That's where I've seen them used. I'm sure they've got other uses, but high powered speakers in like festivals and stuff. So this socket can be used for 240 volts up to 13 amps, which is fine for all of this essentially. And then this is the plug that goes with it. It's really good. It's weatherproof and it goes in and locks in place. So yeah, a little bit unconventional, but this is how we're going to charge and get AC voltage into our charger. So that'll go in there like that.
Oh, I like the colour against the green.
Yeah. And it'll put it in like that. So it's all like up to spec, up to code, whatever. It's not like we're doing something crazy. It's just from a different industry.
We're just doing it the Pete way.
Look, the specs say it's fine, so it's fine. So yeah, we'll fit that in. And then there's also space next to it here. And I think I'll have that as a 240 volt out. Like in terms of using the system as a backup. That's kind of one of the scenarios. So if our power system fails or goes down, we can just plug one end in here, one end somewhere in the habitat, and then this system will feed the indoor system somewhere later down the line. Or you could just put an extension lead on the end of this and just put it in, click. But we're also going to have some normal 3-pin plugs, but you'll see those in a minute. So if we run some cables in, the spade connectors for that end, and then here we've got live and neutral input and an earth. And that's what the other end of this cable will plug into.
Looks like a hose.
Yeah.
It's like a spray nozzle.
Yeah. So it's all wired up. We've got our funky connector. PowerCon, that's what it's called, not Speakon, PowerCon. And on the other end we've got a 13 amp plug, but this could be one of the blue Commando Caravan style plugs, or whatever else you want to plug into 240 volts, I don't know. So this would go in here. I've installed the socket. Click.
Nice click.
Yeah. And then we just plug this into here and we can start charging the batteries.
Wait, before we check to see if it charges, remember that ad earlier on that you definitely didn't skip for the Limo robotic mower?
Better not.
We're actually going to be raffling that mower off on our new website, raffle.road-to-off-grid. So if you want to be in with the chance of winning, it's a great way to support the channel and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, now we can test it.
I kind of don't want to give away the mower.
You can't keep it. We don't have a lawn.
Oh, I could just ride it. You ready?
Wait. Okay. Oh, that's very anticlimactic.
Yeah, not much happened.
But it's got an input.
It says it's charging.
Oh.
Oh, there we go. Well, there you go. It did something.
Oh, now the battery is boop, boop.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So now we've got AC power going in, DC power coming out,
Batteries are charging.
batteries are charging.
Got an
Now-
isolator switch.
We need to do the AC out.
Okay.
All right, we're making progress. Here we go. It looks so cool, doesn't it? I didn't really want to go into too much detail on how we wired it all together because systems are so different, and I would really hate to give you bad advice because it's very easy to like electrocute yourself and stuff. One thing that is quite important to note is that all of these gubbins is all going to get covered up. It has like a shroud that goes over the top, and that all the DC stuff goes through a big fuse and a big breaker switch. And then we've also got, on the AC side of things, you need some sort of protection to stop yourself from getting electrocuted. You have a breaker like you do in your house. Something that can be a bit confusing is how do you have an earth when the vehicle's not connected to the earth? So what we've done, and this completely depends on your system, is we have this earth lead that connects to the chassis of the trailer, and our inverter is smart enough to do automatic earth to neutral bonding. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because I don't fully understand, but you need to make sure you look into that if you're going to build a system like this. But it was super simple to do, really. Like, you just wire all the things together and it all just works.
Yeah, I think there was only like 2 settings that we had to change on the inverter. It was to tell it what kind of batteries we were using, so I had to change it to lithium, and we had to change the hertz to 50 because the default is 60. But apart from that, it was completely plug and play.
So if you don't know Renogy, that's where all of this has come from. And they've been providing power systems and batteries and inverters and stuff for caravans and camper vans for ages. And I've been really pleased with the build quality and just how easy it's all gone together. The other thing that's in our teeny tiny fuse box is a little DC breaker. So while we've got our main fuse that's like 300 amps that does the batteries and the inverter and stuff, we've got another little breaker for everything under a couple of 100 watts. So that just means that if something goes, you don't have to replace a fuse, the breaker will just trip. So it's much easier than trying to, replace fuses if something goes wrong. So we've got that, and then this is the last piece that went on. We've got a bunch of switches. This is for DC stuff, so all 12 volt stuff. So this will be for controlling the air compressor, for the air suspension system, and for powering on the hydraulic pump, for the leveling system, and then we've got a couple of other switches that I'm sure I'll come up with something to do with them. And then we've got this funny looking donut thing, and this is the last thing to go in. But first, before we show you what that cool thing is, would you like to do the honours?
What am I doing?
You just got to flip the switch. The beep is a good sign.
The number colour matches this.
Yeah, it does, yeah. We've accidentally matched the Renogy colours with our trailer. We've got no way of testing the DC stuff because nothing's plugged into it yet. Mm-hmm. But if I flip the switch, the light should come on. It did not. It's not a good sign. Is this breaker on?
No, the breakers aren't on. They're green, don't they?
Oh, the lights are on. Okay. So that...
Okay, so that's
cool.
off.
That's
on.
Cool. The DC works.
Yay.
Give me one.
You want to plug something into the AC?
Yeah, I've got something low risk. Little battery charger.
Wow.
Yeah, we did it. If you cycle through, it should say what power we're using out.
71 watts.
Yeah. Should we try something bigger?
Okay.
See what this inverter can do.
What you got there?
High-powered filming light.
Whoa.
There we go. Output 300 and...
Oh, that's 225 watts.
There we go. What have we got that's really powerful? Angle grinder?
Oh, because this can do 3,000 watts.
Yeah. Well, I think that all works. Should we fit the final thing?
Yes.
Okay. unsatisfying was that? Well, that stays on there for now.
Ooh.
So this is the Renogy One Core. It's basically the hub that connects and communicates with all the devices. So the batteries are really smart. They've got Bluetooth and standard communication protocols like CAN bus and some of the other ones I can't remember. So it'll just speak to the batteries and know how much power is being used and what the state of charge is, and it'll monitor everything. So I just need to set it up on my app.
It says
please.
home. It will be our home. That's real neat in there. I like his face.
Hello? Yeah, this has come out really, really well.
The only problem is the size of this breaker box.
Yeah, it kind of protrudes past this. So yeah, we're going to have to alter this and recess it back in so it doesn't stick out, but that's all right. So it looks like this needs to update, and it's taken a little while. So let me show you something that we're going to put on next, and it's this thing. This is a DC to DC battery charger. So what that means is you can plug it into solar to charge the batteries, or you can plug it into the tow vehicle's battery. So as we're driving, it will charge the batteries through this. So
From the alternator?
From the alternator of the car, yeah. Yeah. So,
Or the truck?
Yeah, our truck.
Of Moose?
Yeah. Moose will charge this via his caboose as we're driving around. Or it can be used for solar, and probably both. But this also has Bluetooth and connects to the hub thingy. This is 50 amps. So I'm not sure if I mentioned, but we got two 120 amp 12 volt batteries in parallel. So that means we've got a 12 volt battery at 240 amps. So we've got about 2,880 watt hours of power. You can't use it all up because you can never drain batteries to zero, but we've got like easily 2 kilowatts or so.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and that means that this is probably going to take, if we just relied on this, we're looking at like 4 hours of driving to fully charge that system.
Oh,
So
that's easily done in between places, isn't it?
It's not like a crazy thing. It'll easily keep everything topped up, especially if we put solar into it, but I don't think we will. Overall, I think the system's come out really good, and the orange is growing on me as well. I think the more we hide it, the better it looks.
It's just peeping through.
Yeah. The core one, the hub is still updating, and I think we've kind of run out of time. Midnight is slowly approaching, so I think we're going to have to leave it there. Don't forget to check out the raffle. It's all live and ready to go. Thank you so much if you decide to get involved. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.